So let's head on over to blockchain.info and take a look at the state of the blockchain. Over here we have height, and that's 497,051. This is actually how many blocks are in the blockchain that is underlying the Bitcoin. How old is that particular block? 3 minutes. If we take a look at the block just before that, it is obviously the same number, only at 50, and it is 9 minutes old. The block before that one, of course, number 49, 13 minutes old. So you can see how much time it takes to add one block to the blockchain. Over here, we can see the number of transactions that have been placed within that block on the blockchain. So this one has 2,093 transactions. What this literally translates to is that there's 2,093 transfers of Bitcoin from one address to another. You could anticipate that being from one person to another, but in the world of the blockchain, it's from one address to another. The previous block here has 1,533, for example. Now, the next line over here is the very interesting one, which is the total sent. In those 2,093 transactions, it would appear as though there's over $152 million that has been transacted. Then there's this big interesting territory talking about the pool or the miners that were involved in the adding of that block. And this one is called Ant Pool, and they were the ones who solved the cryptographic puzzle that was the generating of a nonce to add a hash. And sorry for the language, but basically they're the ones who won the race. And every time a block is going to get added to the blockchain, there's kind of a computational race that takes place. So these individuals happened to win the solving puzzle, and this is the block that they had an opportunity to add on to. Now we move over to here, which is what is the size of the block, and this is in kilobytes, and so it's 1.051. This is about a megabyte, okay? So it's the size of each block that is a current concern within the actual blockchain right now, because there does tend to be a bit of a bottleneck. If you look at over here, this is 6 minutes and then this is 11 minutes. You can see that during that 5 minutes there was 2,000 transactions, and you can do the math yourself to find out how many transactions a second that is. And then when you do that mathematics, you can then compare that to, for example, MasterCard, which I believe can do 30,000 transactions a second. So you start to see some of the current, not permanent, but current limitations of the blockchain. Now I'm going to go over and dig down inside of this block, because the idea of the distributed public ledger, the distributed ledger technology, is that you should be able to see all of the transactions that are inside of that block. And lo and behold, here they are. I'm going to take just a quick little walk through describing a number of these fields, because this is what the information that's in that megabyte of that block of the blockchain actually looks like. So you can see down here is an interesting one. How much did that miner earn in being able to put that block onto the blockchain? And down here it looks like about 131,000. That might look like a lot, but the fact of the matter is that it took a considerable investment to be able to add that block on. And also, as I mentioned before, there's a competition to add the block on. So there is continual input of effort to be the next miner to add the block onto the blockchain, but you don't always win that race. So this is the result of just winning the race once, but perhaps that the one who won this one, Ant Pool, may have lost the last 5 times, 10 times. Maybe it's been a few days where they've been expending a lot of energy and a lot of computational power for no reward. So looking at it one block at a time is not correct. It needs to be in regards to the context of the entire effort that's required to put the next block on. Up here under hashes, this is a very important part of the blockchain, because one of the aspects of the blockchain that makes it immutable is that the previous block's hash is here, and that previous block and this encrypted number linked to this one now. So we're talking about previous block would have been number 50, and this is number 51. The fact that there is a previous block number included in this block means that that's the chain, that's the linkage, that's the chain of communication from one block to another, and it's right here under the hashes. Next is the Merkle root, and this is an interesting part of the encryption also. The Merkle root is based on, if we look at all of that 1 megabyte of information, which we know is 2,093 transactions, there is a way to take all of those transactions and create an encrypted number based on all of those transactions that makes up for the Merkle root. The Merkle root then means that it is impossible to go into the past of the blockchain and change anything without this number itself changing, and that would set off red flags for the rest of the distributed network and the nodes to know that something has gone wrong. And through the consensus mechanism, it would get ejected, and that would not carry on. So the idea here being is that the blockchain always carries on with the longest chain possible. Moving down, we'll just go. Timestamp is really important here. All of these aspects are important, but timestamp is one of the verifying features too that has a great deal to do with recognizing what was in somebody's wallet at what particular time. I'm going to move down a little bit because it's seeming like this is a lot of information, but let's just take a look at a couple of transactions, and I want to try and go down here and find a nice big juicy one. You can go and look at this yourself on the internet, and this is the idea of the public distributed ledger. But quite often among these different transactions that are moving across from one address to another or from one person to another, you can see, for example, from this individual, it has been moved to this individual, or say from this address to this wallet. There was an amount of around $9,502. The fee for doing that was just about $10, and that was instant settlement between those two parties. And this is a completely disintermediated transaction happening between these two people. Let's go down a little farther, and what I'm searching for here is maybe a transfer of value that was in the realms of millions. Okay, here's a beautiful one. So from this address, whoever it is, and nobody will ever be able to tell because we can only see an encrypted number for an address, unless that person, of course, has associated that address with, say, an account like with Coinbase, which actually the IRS has demanded from Coinbase that they release the information that links any particular address to a person, and they want that person's first name, last name, address, phone number, and information if the transactions that they've been doing across the blockchain and Bitcoin are in excess of $20,000. And there happens to be over 14,000 people who fit into that category. So this person is now going to be reported, I guess, by Coinbase to the IRS because, basically the IRS wants their money. Here's the interesting thing, or their tax money. Here's the interesting thing though. This is $2,355,000 in change. It was transferred from this address to this address. That means that that money has been settled. It has gone across, and the complete fees for that were $10.54. So I'm going to end this video here. Share it if you like, because this is peering actually at the very distributed ledger that the blockchain is, and this is the real life understanding of what it means at this level for for the transfer of funds. Now, Bitcoin and the transfer of value across the internet is a very powerful tool indeed. But more importantly than this, as time will come to show, the blockchain and the security of it is really the fundamental part that's going to influence so many more things like identity and patient records and many more other very interesting activities to do with government and how people conduct their affairs in the future. Hope you like this video. Please share it with your friends and take care.